Talk shoes. Recorded live.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be across the nation or around the world. Once again, you're listening to the VMware Community's Roundtable Podcast. This is podcast number 731. My name is Eric Nilsson, and with me today, I do have my favorite co-host, Corey Romero. Today is Wednesday, July 2nd, 2025. Corey, how's it going?
Eric, it's going well. The weather in Utah is fantastic, and I've got a little bit of news for the expert. Should we cover that now?
No. Well, I'll do a weather report here. I'm down in Miami South Beach because it's the 4th of July week here in America, and so we get an opportunity to celebrate the nation's birth. So I'm going to be down here, and I'm podcasting from a hotel room, which is always fun out on Miami Beach. The water looks great, nice turquoise blue. Yeah, can't go wrong with a weekend.
I love Florida.
You get off the plane, and when you get off the plane, you feel the humidity hit you, and it feels good for the first 4 or 5 days you're down here. You're just like, this is so nice. After about a week or two, you get tired of the weather, but right now it's good. And so living the dream. Bob Plankers can't be with us this week, but we had a good topic. VCF 9's out, so we got Don Horrox, system engineer for Moffett Cancer Center, and he does various automation labs. So we're going to talk to him about VCF 9 and what you need to know about automation, and just talk generally about automation and his perspectives of VCF 9 as well. So we've got him on the show to talk to him about that. But before we do that, Corey, sure, let's talk a little bit about VExperts. What's going on?
Yeah. So I've got a little bit of news as well as a thank you to the VExperts. So first, the news: applications are going to open for the second half awards for VExpert. It's going to happen on July 7th, and they're going to close on July 24th at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Voting is going to start on July 25th and going to run through August 14th. And VExpert awards will be sent out on or before August 15th. And then at Explore, we're going to have a VExpert meetup as well as an Explore blogger meetup. So we're going to have 15 bloggers meeting up together who received blogger passes to go to the show. And then I also want to say thank you to the VExperts who have written a ton of content in the past 2 months. We have over 110 blog articles just on VCF 9 alone from VExperts, and we have well over 75 articles just on Explore registration and content catalog from VExperts. So I wanted to say give them a huge shout out. They've been doing a ton of work, and just wanted to say thank you and appreciate it all for all your hard work.
I got to see that because Noel Greer was on vacation last week, and so I took over the advocacy.broadcom.com platform where VExperts can submit all their blog articles, and then we aggregate it up and post it out on an aggregation channel. And I got to see all the VExperts, right? And we got like 30, 40 submissions a day that we have to review and then approve. But a lot of content from those guys. So yeah. I totally agree.
Things have been picking up this year, which is great. Good to hear.
And to the point of this podcast, we've been talking. VCF 9 brings a lot of technology to bear, right? Don has a really good blog article on his blog site, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But he has a good article on what's new with VCF on vchamp.net. So go check that out. The VCF 9 announcements, and there's a lot of tech here now, and we talk about the integration of products, right? But from an administrator perspective, it's actually more things to learn and more things to figure out architecture-wise. I was on a couple different interviews for VMUG board members, and some of these guys that are applying to be on the board are really great guys. They know virtualization, and they were commenting that virtualization is getting more complicated, right? When you have a VCF stack where you're doing storage, networking, and automation and management on top of a hypervisor, it's not the old days of just install vSphere and away you go, right?
Right.
So there is just a lot more content to talk about from a VExpert perspective and blogging perspective and training perspective. And this is what we're covering now is really, we finally reached the SDDC, the modern software defined data center, all in a one large, offering. lots to cover, right? Lots to cover.
Yeah, and Don, thank you personally. You've written a ton of really good content. I'm actually reading your Know Before You Go blog article right now for Explore, and just going to start it here on the podcast while we're chatting. I'm going to read over it. So yeah, thank you. Good work.
Yep. And then the only other thing to do is shout out to Explore. Reg numbers keep going up. That's good. So I'm happy about that. We definitely have, get the show goes on. And we're gonna keep pushing. Code Labs are consolidated. We got Code Labs. We've got the hackathon is we're promoting right now. So we've got, I think, 3 or 4 teams set up for the hackathon already. And then, the community sessions, they're all going. So excited about the community sessions, and then, just all the other sessions. So, and then a big community booth this year as well. There's going to actually be some mini golf activities with VMUG, so that, we can have some fun with all the chapter members. So yeah, so we're happy about that. So should be good.
A lot of good things happening. Yeah, so good to hear. Thanks, Eric.
And Vegas with the community pricing. So, under $1,000 if you want to come and just be part of the community booth and sessions and hackathon and all of that without needing to, break the bank. And I was talking to some of the VMUG interviewers, board member interviews, and they were like, self-funding to get to a VMUG Connect is something that's possible, right? Because Connect charges like $450. And honestly, if you go into Vegas, you can almost self-fund it now, right? Under $1,000 for the ticket price. You can pretty much get to Vegas and stay there for the week for $500. So for $1,500, you can go have a great week with everybody, right? And I know we're also going to fund the V Rockstar party this year. So, and some of the partner ecosystems coming back too. So I feel like, it should be a pretty lively event this year. So we're good.
That's good.
All right. Having said all that, let's get to Don, and let's do the traditional Don. What we generally do on the podcast is, because we are a community podcast, we want to get to know you. Why don't you give us 5 minutes of your career arc? How did you get where you are today? What do you do? And then as we go along, we'll get into the automation and your blog articles. But we first started out with, who are you? How did you get where you are today? What do you do? And give us a little bit of your career arc.
Don can't hear us, Eric, so he needs a few minutes. Let's keep chatting, and you bring Don back in a few seconds.
Oh, all right. Well, there's always technical difficulties when you're live streaming on the internet. There's no question about that. And we are live. And so let's give Don a little bit more time to show back up. In the meantime, Corey, VExperts, how many more VExperts do you think we're going to get this go around? You're muted. We got the mute challenge.
There we go. Yeah, just pull that up. Let's take a look here.
So, how many are you expecting? I think we're at like 1,500 VExperts these days, right? And I'm just curious where you think you're going to go now that apps open up.
Let's see here. I'm trying to pull the number up real quick. Just see how many VExperts we got at Explore.
And I think Don's back. Don, are you back? Let's do a test with Don. Don, are you back?
Yes, Eric. I hope you can hear me now.
Oh yeah,
130.
You sound great. 130 new
VExperts.
Awesome. Thanks, Corey.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Eric. Just to clarify, that's 130 VExperts that are attending Explore.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Good. 130.
Yeah, we're not opening applications.
I just asked you, how many VExperts do you think, new VExperts, you think you're going for as the apps are opening right now?
Oh, 200. Yeah,
200.
I think we'll hit around 200. Yeah.
Nice. Very good. All right, Don. So I'll repeat the question. You come on the podcast. We're a community podcast, and so we usually will say, "Hey, introduce yourself. Give us a little 5-minute pitch of like, what's your career arc look like? How did you get where you are now, where you're building lab content and you're blogging and so forth? And what do you do at as your main career? So give us a little career arc information."
Yeah, sure. And thank you, Eric and Corey, for having me on today. I really appreciate that. Um, so I work at Moffitt Cancer Center currently as a systems engineer, and I've been there for, this is actually my 6th year, which has gone incredibly quickly. Um, I have a pretty extensive background in starting off with device support. You know, a lot of us started at the help desk or started in desktop support. I personally started in desktop support for a number of years, most of them in healthcare, and working as an engineer for the last about 10 years, covering everything from Windows Server to a little bit of storage, a lot of VMware, obviously, and that's, going back to, for me, ESXi 6 and vCenter 6, and seeing the progression from 6 to 6.5, 6.7, etc., all the way up to what is now VCF 9 just being released. What was it, last week? So, I've come up through, I'll say, a nice exposure to healthcare in a hospital setting, supporting patient bedside devices, all the way to the business side of things. So I've seen a lot of the healthcare experience and how everything we do impacts ultimately the patient experience and can influence patient outcomes. So feel very strongly that the efforts that I put in, my team puts in, goes to a very good cause, and we try very hard to make sure that we're providing really quality solutions that enable business growth and resiliency and all those things that are so important to providing the services that we offer.
Yeah, it does bring us back to reality of, I think, everybody that works in technology long term has a direct impact on humanity. I think that Steve Jobs used to kind of beat that drum a lot, right? And where he'd be like, what I'm trying to do is make the world a better place, right? And certainly you guys implementing your technology in healthcare, makes a big difference. There's life and death struggles that are going on, I'm sure. And so thanks for doing that. That's great. I did have to smile when you gave your little story, because I have a thing in the back of my head that says, if I had a nickel for every time I did an operating system install, right? And you listed out all the versions, and and then the client devices that are happening in the patient care rooms, and just all of that's happening. You're like, if you had a nickel for every time you had to deploy technology. But then I realized, oh wait, they pay us a lot, so you probably do have a nickel for every time you've done an OS deploy, right? Because we do get money, right?
Yes,
But it is a lot of work, right? And it clicks by year after year, right? So nice.
It sure does.
So how do you do have your? I think it's VChamp. Is that what it is? VChamp.
Yes.
Yeah, VChamp.net blog. How did you get into blogging? When did you start blogging?
Well, I actually only started blogging. This is my 2nd year now, starting that off. So coming into engineering and starting off, supporting a number of the VMware, now VMware by Broadcom products, virtualization was totally new, and it was uncharted territory for me. And you learn a lot, of course, from the people that you work with and training and all those traditional methods. But you can't underestimate the power of Google either when you're trying to figure things out and learn, of course. And I found that the documentation, the official documentation, often fits the bill, but it can sometimes lack the context that you're looking for, or perhaps you want something a little deeper. And that's where a lot of V experts and just enthusiasts in general, I learned so much through their blogs. And I'm not gonna lie to you, it is inspiring when you see that sort of enthusiasm and people who take time out of their day or night to write content to help other people who may have faced a particular challenge that is kind of a nuance in our area. You got a weird error message that nobody's really seen before, or they've addressed a particular need in their organization that is sometimes underserved in the community or in documentation. So it's great to see other people again taking their time to document these things and share their knowledge. And a couple of years ago, that was something that I went to Explore 2023, and I felt more empowered than ever to share that type of knowledge, because I saw firsthand, not only the content, of course, but got to meet other people, and you see, the challenges that we all share in our own respective industries and organizations, and it made me feel like, okay, stepping back, maybe I do have more experience than I think. Maybe I have seen things that other people haven't seen, and it's not that, to blog about it. It doesn't take much, right? You just have a WordPress blog or a static website, whatever it is you want to run, and you almost are writing documentation that you would write internally, but you're publishing it online and just making it more tailored to your audience. But it wasn't something that I thought was outside of what I would do for my own organization. I'm just sharing the knowledge publicly, at this point. So it felt good to give back in that way.
It's true. And the other thing that I discovered when I write a blog now and then on the code blog now, I tend to do a better job learning the material, and I've actually expanded what I learned on a given subject because I realize I have gaps or holes, and I go back and I go, oh wait, I should probably go research that and add that to the blog, because I didn't really need to know that, but I can see where the blog should have that in there. And so then you it's like a puzzle. You're building the puzzle for the blog article, and then when you step back and look at it, you realize you got a much more complete vision of the topic than what I did when I started, right? And so it's also one of those things, right? Yeah,
absolutely. And when you write such a comprehensive document or article like that, you also realize the points that maybe you don't understand as well as you thought either, because now you're in a situation where you're trying to explain it to somebody else, and then you kind of identify what are those gaps, and it gives you an opportunity to go back and research something further, or pay a little extra attention to those things, because if you can't explain it, to someone who's never seen it before, do you truly understand it yourself, right?
Right. Yeah, and then the final thing is that it is also just a fun archive. If you've been doing it, like my career is now 40 years, and I've been doing posting and social media for VMware for almost 20 years, right? And then before that on Big Admin at Sun Microsystems, and you can go to the Wayback Machine and look at some of that stuff, right? And see what you posted. And it's just kind of like having an old Facebook account where you look back 15 years, and now I'm near the end of my career where, I can see my whole career and how it played out. And it's just a fun archive, right? That you do. And I know other people have gone back and used it to remember what they did, right? So it's a good documentation piece as well, right? So
yeah, absolutely. Nice. I hear that from one of my colleagues, that he references a particular article about certificates quasi frequently, and that's interesting to hear, because that's something that I thought someone would only look at once in a while. It turns out it's more popular than I expected. So you never know where somebody's posts are going to take you.
Yeah, and every once in a while you get really surprised. Like we did a podcast way back, maybe 2018, on Raspberry Pi stuff we were doing just as part of the Code Labs, teach people Python and blah, blah, blah. And we were doing the ARM, ESX on ARM back then as well. So we were kind of Raspberry Pi funning along. And that thing went viral. The next thing you know, we had like 18,000 listens to the podcast, which normally we get like 4,000, a week, right? But all of a sudden you get one that, obviously people, had value and wanted to listen to, and, thought it was interesting, and you didn't even realize it, right? And then all of a sudden you got something that you contributed to. So that's fun. So let's switch gears a little bit and talk about VCF 9. So 9's out, and I know you do some labs that you work on, or at least I believe you do, or produce content in that line. What's been your experience with 9 now with regard to like what you need to talk about and the complexities to either automation or other topics in 9?
Sure. So VCF 9 is, of course, I'm not the only one to say it. It is a game changer in that a lot of things that we knew about how to harness virtualization are changing. Now you're going to have fleet management. That is a huge achievement. to introduce fleet management in VCF operations, where you can manage your certificates, your local, service account passwords, configuration drift, all those things through VCF operations. And so those are sometimes, seen as blind spots historically, because certificates were like the next world wonder. Nobody really knew how to keep track of them properly, more or less how to refresh them. And,
Right.
same for password management and, configuration drift. How do I know if I have configuration drift? Broadcom has done a really great job here with VCF 9 of introducing some really meaningful features that are going to streamline lifecycle management for every VCF customer. Super exciting to see that. And for automation, VCF automation and formerly ARIA automation or vRealize automation, super powerful and capable products. We're seeing some really great integration with Data Services Manager and with containers, the container management service, and those are all modern workloads and the push towards self-service, type of an experience for developers and your in-house teams. We're seeing some really great integration there and enablement for those teams to deploy their workloads and manage them in a way that is not just agile, but is also tightly protected with the guardrails you define within automation and across between regions, clouds, etc.
So I got to back up a little bit and talk about fleet management and license keys and license management, and 9 moving to operations to manage your key management, where in vSphere you used to just open up a little panel, a menu drop down, and pop up a panel and type in my license key and then save and not have to remember for another year, right? Especially because I get the expert license and so forth, so I'm not buying enterprise 5 years. But now 9, that doesn't exist, right? Now you're in operations management, and is that part of fleet management? Is that all wrapped up together, or is that fleet management different than the new license management model?
No, the new license management model is a separate critter entirely, but it is file based. You're exchanging a key with Broadcom. It's not that every host has its own license key or every cluster, however you used to divvy it up when you would sign your agreement and receive your bundle of keys. Now you're associating your entitlement more so than a particular license key. Your entire collection, your entitlement there is associated with operations, and that's where your affiliated devices, if you have 3 vCenters and 100 hosts, for example, if they're integrated with operations, they're going to receive their entitlement courtesy of operations. It's going to synchronize the license entitlement to those systems for you. So you're not going to have to manage keys anymore. You're not going to have to worry about upgrading and downgrading keys, depending on when you purchased your licenses. If you added some hosts after your initial agreement, they may expire at different times. You don't have to worry about those things anymore. It's a much more sophisticated approach to license management.
And as part of that, though, when you go get your licenses, right, you have to run ops on in your environment, pass data back up to your support portal, and then they'll give you configuration files that ops uses to then allocate out that entitlement, right? If that's the way I kind of understand it.
You can, you don't have to. If you have an environment which restricts internet access, or you simply don't want to permit your VCF operations instance to synchronize with Broadcom's backend servers, that's okay. You can export a file from VCF operations and provide it through the Broadcom support portal to Broadcom, and they basically perform like a key exchange. They'll give you a file in return that you'll import into VCF operations. and that will more or less sync you up with Broadcom so that your entitlements are populated in VCF operations, you're meeting your compliance
Right.
requirements,
Right.
things of that nature. So you can do the online option, and that's highly encouraged and is the easiest option, but you don't have to.
Right. Right. Yeah. So I was assuming you're not doing the online. Then you have to go and bundle this up, deliver it into your support portal, and then pull something back down. I had never seen what it was, and I had heard some rumor that it was config files and another multiple files and something. I haven't done it yet, so I don't know what you're actually pulling down. But I was talking to William Lamb, and William Lamb's like, well, you know, you can get the bits and you can get, but you really need a couple other things to do the deploy correctly.
I see. Yeah, with a like I say, you can do the offline or the online. It's a much easier experience to do the online. You're not even involved with the passing of keys at that point. You're basically signing in through your Broadcom credentials, and it's going to synchronize that in the back end for you.
Okay. So moving on from entitlement, automation, I've heard, and we had a podcast last week on automation API consolidation across vSAN, NSX, and vSphere, where they made, the interfaces all one bundle, and then they're supposed to behave differently. Does that impact you guys? Or, when you're doing automation and teaching people automation, I think they said backward compatible, right? So if you've got scripts already, they should still keep working. But then I wasn't sure what they meant by they put us new API out, and then if you use that API, the API behaves similarly across all 4 products.
Right. So what I understand from the briefing we received is that all of your existing integrations, if you have API queries already defined for your automations or other integrated products, those will continue to work as they do today. There's not a deprecation or any lack of support there. They do have, with the new APIs, they do have a global permission set for roles and for, again, global permissions, right, that span across those environments. But I'll admit I'm not 100% on that aspect of it. But I do understand what you're talking about. And to answer the question, your current API calls will continue to function as they do today.
So what are your favorite things of 9? What if we ask you, like, what are you most excited about, and the impacts of those? What are your top 3 things?
Well, I mentioned fleet management, and that's something that I think is huge, because if you're following VCF design, you're going to most likely have more vCenters than you did before, potentially more NSX edges and managers. Your environment's going to potentially, if you're used to, just having vSphere hosts and vCenter servers, you may have a slightly larger footprint than you did before, a little bit more overhead. But the good news is you can harness it much more efficiently with fleet management and control, again, your certificates, your passwords, your configuration drifts, all those things. So that's great, because that's going to help you scale more efficiently and maintain compliance. Aside from fleet management, there's been significant strides in VCF health diagnostics. So some of us may recall Skyline from a few years back. And Skyline was great. You kind of got the coach's eye, if you will, for looking at your environment and saying, hey, this is great. We've got a couple security vulnerabilities here, a couple recommended configuration changes for alignment with best practices there. And unfortunately, that sort of went away temporarily post-acquisition and deprecation of the SaaS platform. And now we see it make a roaring return with VCF 9 as VCF Health Diagnostics. You're able to now not only receive the same intelligence that you did from Skyline with respect to best practices and your configuration, but we're also seeing log assist come back, where you can upload log bundles to Broadcom support cases directly and things of that nature. And it's really great to have that back, because if you were a Skyline user, you were likely kind of upset when it was briefly
Sure.
shelved, post acquisition. So this is a great thing to see come back. We get great intelligence out of it, so I'm excited to see the insights and how we've matured over time, because you can also see historical trends with, as you fix things in your environment based on recommendations, you can compare them to present day and say, wow, we did a lot of work last year to be more compliant and to fortify our environment, and now we can actually see that in a tangible report. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, that's an unsung feature that I hadn't heard yet, right? Like, so nice to know. And it is true that there was a lot of noise when Broadcom canceled Skyline. We just heard people go, oh my God, they're canceling that. Like there was a lot of, but what they had said was, no, we're just consolidating it and we're integrating it, and we're, you'll get that same feature set back. And so it is nice to see Broadcom, or VMware by Broadcom, because it's really just VMware,
right.
Do what they said they were going to do, right? And here's another instance where it's actually not as bad as everybody. The doom and gloom of Broadcom killing VMware was maybe a little bit opportunistic by our competitors, but the reality is almost everything they said now is coming back and available. And even I heard people talking the other day about pricing, that, well, actually, when we looked at our complete pricing, we actually saved money. Right, when when we looked at all the licenses we were buying and we consolidated it under VCF, we actually had a lower price footprint than we did in the past. So there's some of that as well. So okay, so that was an interesting one. Skyline is back. What do we call it? Health
diagnostics. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. What do you think of tiered memory? Are you like excited about that? Don't care? What's that? Does that make it in your top 5 list? Everybody talks about, tiered memory, this will save me money, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. What your thoughts are on that, or any other features?
Yeah, it is in my top 5 list. It was talked about a lot actually at Explore 2024. And it's a really interesting and cost efficient concept when you think about, DRAM is finite and it's expensive. And NVMe, if you're going to use that for your memory tiering, is very fast, and it's going to help you offload your cold pages from DRAM to your NVMe, which if you have, workloads that are really memory hungry and maybe not necessarily bursty, that's a great thing, because now you can potentially, increase your VM to host density. You can reclaim resources potentially if you want to say, I have a host with 1 terabyte of memory, and by offloading, a subset of our pages to NVMe with memory tiering, you might be able to reduce that. Maybe it's only to 768 gigabytes, and that's okay, because across a number of hosts in your fleet, that might be a significant savings. It's something to pay attention to and see how it works in your environment. It's not necessarily for everyone, right? It depends on your workloads.
Yeah, it depends on your work.
Yeah, extremely, because it may do wonders and save you, a ton of money and capital for what you would otherwise invest in traditional memory, or it may not necessarily hurt, but it's not going to benefit either. It might be one of those things where your workloads aren't really in that sweet spot, and that's an analysis you can perform on your own. But generically, a lot of folks can benefit from memory tiering. Right.
And now out, formally supported. And I know it was kind of out in 8 update something to, or 5.3 or whatever, if you call VCF, or 8 in vSphere. Yeah. So another nice one. What else do we got on that list? I'm going to
tell me from the blog post.
No, just from your list in your head.
Oh, to be excited
I'll
for
ask you, what are you scared? I'll ask you, what are you scared about, right? Like, so I'm looking at your blog. You have the great blog, VCF9 announced features on vchamp.net. So, we're just looking at, you got the 5 top highlights that you kind of covered.
Sure.
Unification of VCF, formerly ARIA suites, all integrated, the health stuff integrated, licensing.
Well, that's a great thing too. The unification of the ARIA suite products is really significant because as it stands today, in version 8.18 anyway, you have VCF operations, you've got operations for logs, operations for networks, different products that each have their own portals, sometimes with their own authentication mechanisms. It depends, right? Their own certificates, their own load balancers, all that stuff. When that gets unified into VCF operations, some of these products may still have their own virtual appliances to serve kind of on the back end, if you will, but they're accessed through a common web UI. And that's great for the user experience because instead of logging into 3 or 4 different portals, now it's in one place, and not just enhancing the user experience just from clicking around and whatnot, but you're going to gain some efficiencies there too, between your integration with VCF operations, which integrates into logs, etc. They're all talking together, and you're able to blend intelligence from each of those products together.
Right. So another question for you on what I've heard. I'm just picking your brain because you're out at a customer site. You're living the dream. Hardware wise, I hear a large number of CPUs, VCF9 is going to minimum 24 cores. Are you guys doing hardware upgrades or refreshes as you begin to roll out 9, and what does that look like?
So that's interesting. We are preparing for 9. We've not officially rolled it out quite yet. What we're doing, we're currently servicing a traditional vSphere type of deployment. We have, a couple of data centers with the respective vCenter servers and a variety of hosts with their own parent clusters, of course, but we're not really in a VCF design currently. And so I've invested a lot of time in the last couple of weeks really to propose a new design, which will come with new hardware to align better with the VCF model and to ensure that we're VCF 9 ready. Even if we aren't necessarily ready to pull the trigger on 9 today, we might still do 5.2 today or something like that, an upgrade. We'll see, but we are ready for some hardware refresh across a number of our hosts, and we very much wanted to align with what the next, from what we can tell, the next 5 years holds for us in terms of just our standard life cycle of 5 years for hardware. So we're going to be doing a major shift to align with VCF, and part of the fun will be to if we go deploy 5.2 today or something along those lines. VMware and Broadcom have made great strides in upgrading or doing what we'll call the brownfield import of an existing environment to 9. We saw some great content on that and how the VCF installer makes that much easier than anything we've seen before. You don't have the massive spreadsheet anymore to configure your environment and things like that. Now it's more of that wizard-driven approach. So yes, we are absolutely ordering hardware soon, and we're still designing how we want to lay out our workload domains and our how many VCF instances, things of that nature.
How's the partner ecosystem? I think you mentioned you have a partner that's helping you. Like, are they coming up to speed as well? And we hear horror stories of Broadcom partners, all that. I assume that a partner that's helping you guys, that doesn't really affect them because they're just an integrator, right? And they're helping you guys move the needle. Have they had to up their game as well, or how's their interaction? Have they been up to speed with being able? It's coming out. We only had 250 people in the beta program, so I'm assuming that the partner ecosystem needs to learn at the same time.
Yeah, the partners are learning. I'll say maybe just a half step ahead of us
Right.
as enthusiasts, because we do have a pretty good community for that. But they're probably a half step ahead, and everyone's trying to keep pace with Broadcom, which is a tall order, because I think things have changed at a breakneck speed over the last couple of years post acquisition. And so, yeah, we're seeing some interesting conversations. Our integrators will say, for certain like firewall products or security products, their relationship has changed dramatically. Some of them are no longer going to support the vSphere or VCF.
Right.
Right. They may drop support or go more independent and not necessarily integrate with Broadcom directly as developers. But our partners and resellers have been great with keeping up with the technology. I'll say we're all learning together to some degree, but we've continued to see great leadership from them as well. So we don't feel that they're learning at the same time as us, but we all acknowledge that this is all fresh information and things are still evolving. So there's a lot to see and learn in what's happened in just the last couple of weeks.
So the push has been, I know the VCF team, core product team, has pushing certifications and getting your VCP cert, right?
Yeah.
Are you guys looking at that? Any interested in your org to certify some people as you move forward?
Yeah, actually, myself and 2 or 3 other colleagues have gotten our VCP, VCF, admin certifications. I'll look at the architect one, possibly I'll sit that at Explore this year. We'll see. So,
yeah, I know that they're giving away free tests for anybody that comes to Explore. So we definitely
if you have the
that.
full event pass, that's right. If you
Yeah.
have the full event pass, you do receive the exam voucher, and yeah, I'm going to take advantage of that. Most likely, we'll see. I have some studying to do.
We did free vouchers at Connect, and we just made all of the labs free, right? We didn't give you a voucher and you show up. You just jump in the room, schedule yourself, and go take the test. So we had actually people that came in on day one, failed it, went back, read at night, figured out what they didn't know, and then said again, right? Because there's no cost to it. I don't know. I don't think the Explorer's doing that quite that way this year, but
right.
But I do hear, that it's going to be free, and we're going to go get that. And yeah, the architect is out there, right? So I know that Frankie Bargan, who used to work at VMware, run the code program, it took him twice to pass the architect. The admin was straightforward. You can get through that. The architect one a little more challenging, right? So
sure. And that's a pretty common concept that for Broadcom to really encourage certifications. That's not unheard of at all. We have, a number of high-profile vendors for electronic medical records services and products, and that's a very common theme. Sometimes they even give you a support discount because of, if you maintain a certain number of certified folks on staff. That can provide you an incentive on support. So that is a trend that we've seen across other vendors as well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, as we come up into the last quarter of the hour, I always like to ask, what gets you excited about the rest of the year, right? So, what gets you excited about the rest of 2025 for you?
Sure. I'm absolutely looking forward to Explore in Las Vegas. That's going to be great. This will be the third one I've attended. So, the first one was great in 2023, but it was also overwhelming as, the first conference I'd attended. So, after last year was much more smooth and I knew what to expect and all that, definitely looking forward to Explore 2025. I'm going to continue through, the design modifications that we're proposing to align our infrastructure with VCF and VCF 9 ready. So I'm looking forward to working with our partner and also with our Broadcom team. We have our core systems engineer and TAM and whatnot. We'll work with them as well and bring everyone to the table to design the best mousetrap. That's what it's all about. So we want to make sure that we're inclusive that way and providing the best service we can for our patients and our researchers with a rock solid infrastructure. So we have a lot of work ahead of us for that. VCF operations is going to be imperative for capacity planning. I don't know I think a lot of folks know operations for, troubleshooting and looking at metrics on a per VM level. If you're not using it for capacity planning, that's absolutely something you should be looking at with what if scenarios and checking, okay, I'm going to do a hardware refresh. How many hosts do I need to buy? Is, a terabyte of memory per host enough? Is it too much? So I'm looking forward to running through those scenarios and finding the right combination that works for us. And looking forward to more information about VCF 9 because I've spent time doing some of the hands-on labs, which I highly recommend online, and I've done some reading about it, seen some presentations. I'm seeing something new about it every day. Not that something new is being released every day, just that there's more in the documentation that I'm noticing and things that I'm learning about it every day. So I'm very much looking forward to what that means for us going forward.
I meant to ask you about GPU management as well, right? Because I know that's one of the things that's showing up in VCF 9 as well. And I don't know, some people aren't ready to do GPU management. Like they don't have a lot of AI workloads on-prem yet, but others are. And I guess I would be remiss if I didn't ask you what you thought of that.
Sure. We have a small vGPU presence with NVIDIA today. And that's been an interesting technology that we've capitalized on for the last 6 or 7 years, and looking forward to enhanced adoption going forward. It's great that they're reducing the stun time to, I believe it's 2 seconds now when you're performing a vMotion between hosts if you have a vGPU enabled. That's wonderful news, and to see the partnership with NVIDIA still strong is great. We're looking toward I'm not sure what exactly our future demand will be for AI, but medical images are definitely, that's our bread and butter, right? So there's a lot of image manipulation and analysis that our researchers and physicians are looking to expand. So we're going to work with their vendors in the next several months to see what their requirements are, but we're already planning to have a cluster dedicated to vGPU workloads so that they can, have a low density environment that they can reserve resources for vMotion between the hosts nice and clean. Right. And we're absolutely expanding into that. Our presence is a little smaller today, but we're definitely looking to enhance that.
Yeah, I think that's great. That's great. Nice to hear it. All right. So last bit, what keeps you up at night? What are you worried about from an IT perspective, right? I don't need to know the rest of your life. You're worried about some things, but from an IT perspective, what's got you thinking,
presently, and I've talked quite a bit about, our forthcoming changes in design to align with VCF. I find that I'm questioning, I'll be sitting at dinner and thinking, man, I wonder if I, split these workloads off to a different workload domain, does that get me better security? Does that just give me, more resilience? What does that, change for me? And so I'm definitely, spending a lot of cycles in my head thinking about not just design, but capacity planning and making sure that when we execute a purchase, that we're buying the right thing, and that we're equipping ourselves well for the future. In addition to that is security, and security is on everyone's mind these days, right? Right. We've made great strides over the years to make sure that our environment is, as secure as we can make it within our operational constraints and with all of our compliance requirements in mind. But your environment, as an administrator, as an engineer, and where the opportunities for improvement are, and those are things that hopefully you don't have any that are so glaring that you can't sleep at night. But we all do, keep a watchful eye on the environment and what security means to us. So I would say those are the top two for me, is just keeping an eye on the future and how I can help position my organization to succeed and derive the most value from VCF that we can, and also the security aspect, just because the security landscape is challenging these days. It's not getting. We've gotten more tools than we've ever had in the past, but our adversaries are also not just picking up in numbers, but they're more skilled than ever too, right?
As I feel like we're a big fish ball in the ocean, where the hunters gather up the fish and tighten them into a ball, and then they just come and eat us all at once, right? And I feel like as we virtualize and put everything in, common infrastructure and more infrastructure, it just leaves you more vulnerable, because somebody just has to attack and get in once, right? And the next thing you know, you're being ransomware, right? Because
hope not, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you don't want that, right? You don't want, and for you, records, data's key, right? So that would definitely keep me up as well, right? No question about that.
Well, and bad actors love hypervisors, right? So
yes, they do.
They sure do. So that's something that is more concerning.
Right. It's the fish ball. It's the one place to attack and get control of everything, right? And so
it's more concerning than just being your average administrator or application owner or something like that, because that the bad actors really like your product. They really like the consolidation, that fishbowl that you mentioned.
Right. Exactly. Right. All right. So I didn't ask where are you outside? Did you say Boston, or where do you reside?
So Moffitt Cancer Center is based in Tampa, Florida. I live in North Carolina currently.
All right. So nice. So North Carolina, we live stream on youtube.com/vbarbecue. You can give us a like and follow over there, or you can catch us on Spotify. Just search for VMware Community Podcast, and you can follow us there. We're also on iTunes. But YouTube, if you want to look and see what Don looks like and say hello to him and explore, go check out youtube.com/vbarbecue. We got the playlist there. We put everything up online in real time, so you can see what he looks like and say hello to him. VBarbecue, we do try to do barbecues with the V experts every Explore if we can, or at least go get a dinner somewhere and get some good meat. So North Carolina, do you ever get a chance to do any barbecuing? Do you do outside barbecue, or do you go to your favorite barbecue restaurant? What's your favorite barbecue story?
We have some pretty great barbecue restaurants in our area. So I don't know if I can beat them. I think I could do pretty well if I buy some ribs from them and take them home and smoke them. But it's hard to beat some of the cooking they do out there, I'll say.
Yeah, I suppose so. The southern states, I don't know if you consider yourself southern or mid-southern, or I don't know, but like they have good barbecue through that region, right? Like these guys have competitions, and they get their trucks and their big trailers with, and then they compete. I think it's the most competitive barbecue place in the U.S. for sure is the Carolinas. They just back and forth. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Nice barbecue there. Do you ever do any barbecue yourself? And if so, what?
Not a whole lot. I mean, we smoked ribs before, and on the grill, you might try to do some things with chicken and stuff, but not really. No, I'm not extremely talented in culinary arts, unfortunately.
There you go. Well, that's all right. You come from North Carolina, or you live in North Carolina. How bad can it be, right? That's you got good barbecue there. You don't have to make it yourself. You just go visit all the places. Yeah,
I can appreciate it very well. I'll tell you that.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for coming on the show, spending our lunchtime together. Are you on Twitter? Your blog again is VChamp. So go check out vchamp.net and check out what he's got up there. He's got nice VCF section. He's got scripts. Yeah, like the blog. Very well done. Good colors. Go check it out. vchamp.net. Are you on Twitter?
Yes, at VChamp blog.
At VChamp blog. So give him a follow and say hi to him there as well. Don, thanks for coming on the community podcast and sharing your story. And thanks for all the work you do, producing content and sharing it with the ecosystem.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
thank you, Don.
Thank you both for having me. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.